is Datila, and welcome to its Wrestling Time Post Show. It is Monday, May 6th, 2024, and tonight I'll be talking about Monday Night Raw. Alright, let's kick things off tonight talking about the King and Queen of the Ring tournament matches. As we all know, the King and Queen pay-per-view will be in Saudi Arabia, Memorial Day weekend. So we had a few matches tonight. So the first one was actually supposed to be Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre, but as we learned, Drew McIntyre was not medically cleared to compete tonight. So before we get into the first match, we have to talk about the opening segment because there's segues into it. And so Judgment Day opened the show, and I feel like this was your typical opening segment, the opening segment that sets up the first match, and that's what this was. There was really nothing much about this segment that is supposed to, any takeaways from this segment, basically. The only thing was that Finn Balor thought he got a free pass because Drew McIntyre was not medically cleared. And, during this, Damian Priest did mention Jey Uso. He did talk about Jey Uso. Someone was eating. I couldn't tell who in Judgment Day was eating. But anywho, this segues into the first King of the Ring match, which was Jey Uso versus Finn Balor. Adam Pearce reveals that Jey Uso will be Finn Balor's opponent. And I thought this was a decent match. I thought it seemed like Judgment Day was banned from ringside because Adam Pearce did saying that what will happen at Backlash wouldn't happen tonight. So midway through this match, Drew McIntyre comes out, and it seems like he causes a distraction, but it's not enough to cost Jey the match. Jey Uso won this, and he quickly exited the ring as Drew McIntyre entered. But before we get into the segment that followed that, let's talk about the next match. The next Queen of the Ring first round match was Io Sky versus Natalya. I thought this was a decent match. It's no surprise Io Sky won. I didn't think Natty was going to beat her. And then at the end, Dakota Kai cut to promo about how 2 years ago they took over Raw and they took out Becky. Now they're back to put everyone on notice. I kind of feel like that was a weak point for Damage Control. I did not like Damage Control's rivalry with Becky. And we also learned that because Asuka's also medically cleared not to compete, Dakota Kai will fill in her match against Lyra Valkyria. And Dakota Kai, she plays up with the what chance, and she says, if you suck, say what? And then the crowd says what? And she basically sends a message to Jade and Bianca saying to enjoy the tag titles and that they will take everything from Becky. So it's an okay promo by Dakota Kai. The next King of the Ring first round match that we get is Ilja Dragunov versus Ricochet. And I have to say, I thought this was probably one of my favorite two matches of the tournament so far. I mean, this was an incredible match. This is Ilja Dragunov's first match as an official Raw wrestler onto the show. That H-bomb to Ricochet, and then when he tried it again, Ricochet countered with the recoil. That was a pretty cool spot. But it's no surprise that Ilja Dragunov won this after he hit the superplex and the H-bomb to Ricochet. But what did you guys think of the first couple matches in this King of the Ring tournament? I wouldn't mind another match between Ricochet and Ilja Dragunov somewhere down the road. So the next Queen of the Ring match was Zoey Starks versus Nile. This was this is an okay match. I feel like the crowd didn't really help this match, and I felt like they were kind of dead for the most part during this match. But Zoey Starks defeats Ivy Nile with the Z360. This was also kind of a short match. And then the main event, and then we had the Queen of the Ring, Lyra Valkyria versus Dakota Kai. Again, Dakota Kai filled in for Asuka. I kind of feel like this was a short match as well. And the crowd seemed kind of dead for this match. I don't know if it's because they don't know Lyra Valkyria. I don't know if it's because maybe they didn't think the match was that great. This was an okay match. And And it's supposed to be an introduction to Lyra Valkyria. And she won after she hit the Nightwing to Dakota Kai. Now, the main event ends up being the King of the Ring first round match, Sheamus versus Gunther. This was a great match. It's my second favorite match of the night. One of my favorite spots in this match is when Gunther attempted to do the 10 beats to the Baron to Sheamus, but he only got 2 chops in. And then Sheamus did the 10 beats to the Baron, but it was 17 beats. Like, throughout this match, like, Gunther really targeted Sheamus's knee. Even Kaiser, before the ref ejected him, cheap shotted Sheamus's knee. That power bomb, then a half crab on the bad knee. I was like, oh my god, I don't know how Sheamus was able to withstand that. But ultimately, it took the half crab to the injured knee. Gunther won this by submission. I was really surprised that it was by submission because I was not expecting Sheamus to tap out to Gunther. Now, Sheamus and Gunther have had quite a history together. Like, Gunther fought Sheamus at Clash of the Castle 2 years ago for the IC title. And then, at WrestleMania, they also had that triple threat match for the IC title. So, this was a good match. I actually really like this one and the Dragunov versus Ricochet match. So, the men's side of the King of the Ring tournament started off really strong, and not so much the women's side. That was pretty much all of the matches on tonight's Raw. They didn't really have any matches that were not King of the Ring or Queen of the Ring related, but they did have segments. So we had a Drew McIntyre segment which followed the Jey Uso versus Finn Balor match. And he was complaining to Adam Pearce about Jey taking his spot in the tournament. And Adam Pearce basically had to remind him that he was medically cleared. And he takes off because he's sick of all the BS. And then guess who arrives? CM Punk arrives and he walks with Pearce to the ring. So this leads into a CM Punk promo. And he's basically apologizing because he got locked in the headquarters. If you guys follow CM Punk on Instagram, over the weekend he got trapped in the WWE headquarters. And he basically says that he drove there to pick a fight with Drew McIntyre, but Drew McIntyre left the building. It was so ironic that CM Punk showed up and Drew McIntyre left. You guys remember last week, Drew McIntyre went looking for CM Punk after he showed up on the little skybox. And I like the fact that CM Punk alludes to the fact that Drew McIntyre is on Twitter. And he was he's probably at the red light and is scoring through Twitter. So he tells Pat McAfee and tells the crowd to pretty much tweet at Drew McIntyre to get him to come back to the ring. And he also talks about how Drew McIntyre's DDT, caused him to tear his tricep. He talks about how Drew McIntyre prayed for this to happen. And that all that Drew McIntyre talks about is Punk. And Punk asks Drew McIntyre if he hates himself. He calls Drew McIntyre a choke artist. And then the next time he sees him, he will break his face. And says that it's obvious McIntyre fears CM Punk. So I cannot wait for this CM Punk Drew McIntyre match to actually happen. I think it's going to be a great match. I really like the fact that even though CM Punk is not medically cleared, as far as I know, that they're still keeping this feud going. So I cannot wait. It's going to be a great feud once CM Punk is able to come back. And Drew McIntyre also keeps it going on social media. So this is really great. Okay, we get a Ricochet interview. And he's basically talking about Ilja Dragunov in his match, his King of the Ring match. Talking about how it's the first step in defining a legacy for himself. He's interrupted by Braun Strowman, who basically says at Judgment Day, you have to stand up for the little man because he can't stand bullies. And that Ricochet needs to remind people why they call him King Ricochet. So I wonder if we're going to see a reuniting of Ricochet and Braun Strowman, because remember, they were tag teaming for a little bit. Then Braun Strowman got injured, and so they put a stop to that. You also get a Sheamus interview, and he's basically talking about all the neck procedures he's undergone. He talks about how him and Gunther had a banger at Clash of the Castle and at WrestleMania, but tonight he's going to kick his ass. And we get an R-Truth segment, and Like, he's talking about a champion versus champion. At first, I don't know what he's talking about. He introduces Dan Hurley, and they bring up the NCAA and the Huskies, a basketball team. So, I'm not sure what this segment was supposed to be about, but basically, like, truth questions why they can't fight the Huskies. Now, normally, I like everything that R-Truth does because he's, like, hilarious, but I kind of wasn't a huge fan of this segment. Because, you know, the Miz is he's going to get back to Adam Pearce for the next title defense. So I wonder who they're going to defend against next. When you look at the tag team division on Raw, I feel like, you know, I'm still pulling for the Viking Raiders whenever he comes back. I would like for them to be the tag team champions. But, you know, I don't think Alpha Academy would win them anytime soon. Maybe a heel Creed brothers would probably be the ones to take the tag titles off Awesome Truth. I think that's the route that they're going to go for. But Chad Gable needs to dump Alpha Academy first. And so also, like, Braun Breaker questions why he's not in the King of the Ring tournament. We don't really get a reason. Adam Pearce tells Braun Breaker that they'll talk about it in his office. So, we had a Judgment Day segment, and, like, they're talking about Finn Balor's loss against Jey Uso, and basically, like, Priest tells JD that he needs to handle Braun, and then Dominic shows up with Carlito. Damian Priest is not happy to see Carlito because you remember Carlito was one of the reasons why Damian Priest lost against Bad Bunny. And he basically says he needs help with the LWO, and if he scratches his back, Carlito's got him. And he tells Damian Priest to think about it. So it's not the first time. It would be an interesting dynamic there. And, like, Dominic in commentary alluded to it. Like, Dominic always catching the strays. He brought Andrade. That didn't work out so well. Now he's bringing in Carlito. Let's see how that works out for a Judgment Day. So we get Chad Gable versus Bronson Reed. This is, like, the only match that was not a King of the Ring tournament wise. So this match doesn't even end because Sami Zayn attacks. Carlito brought back the apple too. All he needs to do is spit in someone's face. So Sami Zayn attacks both Chad Gable and Bronson Reed. The ref calls for the bell, and then, like, Bronson Reed slams Sami, and then he slams Chad Gable. And he goes backstage and basically makes it known to Adam Pearce that he wants the IC title. He doesn't give a damn about Sami. He does not give a damn about Chad Gable. And then later on in the night, Sami Zayn talks about how it's going to be a triple threat match at King of the Ring because that's what it's going to end. And honestly, I feel like the triple threat match would be a good way for Sami Zayn to lose the title. If you're going to... The question is Chad Gable, would Chad Gable win or would Bronson Reed win? I think maybe Chad Gable would steal it from Sami. This is a great way for Sami to lose the title. So I wonder how he would retain. He probably... I feel like if Sami does retain, he might pin Bronson Reed because he's already beaten Chad Gable. So, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the live chat or in the comment section down below. Okay. We also get a Gunther promo, and he's basically just talking about Sheamus and about himself, about how he's the general of the ring, and pretty soon he'll be king of the ring. And honestly, I feel like Gunther's probably the favorite to win the King of the Ring tournament. It's no surprise that himself and Ilja Dragunov won their respective matches. They're probably going to face each other next, and we're going to get a repeat of their takeover match. Like, Ilja Dragunov was the one who ended Gunther's undefeated streak down in NXT, so it makes sense to revisit things here, and I do think that Gunther will probably beat Ilja Dragunov. We get a Becky Lynch in-ring interview, and she's talking about how she made her debut 9 years ago on the main roster. She mentions Valkyria, Isla Dawn, Alba Fire. Talks about her outfit at the Kentucky Derby this weekend. And she gets interrupted by Liv Morgan, who's basically being tired of Overlook. Now, if you guys remember, Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch had a rivalry. Becky Lynch was the heel, and Liv Morgan was the face. Now this roles have reversed. Liv Morgan, I guess, is the heel, and Becky Lynch is the face here. And she's gonna get her title shot at Queen of the Ring. I don't think, actually, maybe Liv Morgan actually does beat Becky, because she could not beat Becky last time they had their feud. I'd be really surprised if she doesn't beat Becky. So Dakota, Kai, and Damage Control come out and basically remind them who wants Raw. Now they circle Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan, and it seems for a second like Liv Morgan's gonna help. Is gonna stand alongside Becky Lynch, but she completely abandons Becky Lynch while Damage Control attacks her, and then Lyra comes out to save Becky, and then this sets up Dakota Kai versus Lyra, which I already talked about. And then last but certainly not least, Kofi Kingston and his promo talking about Xavier Woods, who says that this was his tournament. Xavier Woods won the last King of the Ring tournament. He was supposed to be 2-time King of the Ring, but thanks to Gunther, Xavier Woods is not able to compete. He's not sure when Xavier Woods is coming back, but as much as respect that he has to put him down. And he mentions Drake and Kendrick Lamar. I think they're beefing. I'm not quite sure what that reference is about. I think that they were beefing this weekend. And he wants to win this tournament for Xavier Woods, and he ends it by saying New Day rock. So I really dug these little promos in between the matches. I thought it was a good way to sell their matches. But one of the things is really some of these matches going to take place at a live event and not on Raw, which I thought that was an odd choice. But overall tonight, I thought it was a pretty decent Raw. I was not a huge fan of the R-Truth segment. And like I said, normally I like the R-Truth stuff, but I just feel I'm not sure what this was about. So with that being said, I'd say it was a decent Raw. A lot of the matches, except for one, were all the tournament matches. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Wasn't a bad match. Wasn't a bad Raw, but I also didn't like the fact that you had the typical opening promo segment that sets up the first match or the main event. Normally that's what happens with these opening segments. They set up a match, whether it be the main event or the first match of the night. But I was just I just felt like you should have just gone out there and had the match take place. But I guess I get why they did it. They needed to explain who Finn Balor's opponent was going to be, but still. So with that being said, I'd say on a scale from a 1 to a Sean Spears perfect 10, tonight's Raw is, I'd say, an 8 out of 10. I thought it was a pretty decent Raw. I'm excited for the rest of this tournament. Let's see how it goes. But with that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching and the continued support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever I go live or this new video. And I will see you guys Wednesday after AEW Dynamite. Bye.